نانو readiness ኤርትራ DC እዩ readiness ኤርትራ DC ቀዳም በመንገድ መርበብ ሓበሬታ ኣብ voiceoferitrea.com ወይውን በመንገድ YouTube ተቀማጡ ዋሽንግተን ዲሲን ከባቢያን ከምኡውን ንመላእ ዓለም ይፍነው
ክብራት ተኸታተልቲ ሬድዮ ድምጽ ኤርትራ ከመይ ቀኒኹም ሎሚ መጋቢት 15 2025 እዩ መደባት ሬድዮ ድምጽ ኤርትራ ድማ ብኸምዚ ስዕብ ኣዳሊና ያለና በመጀመሪያ እዋናዊ ዜና ካብ ከተማ ኣስመራ ካልኣይ ቃለ መዕተት ምስ ኣህጉራዊ ጋዜጠኛ ቶማስ ማውንቴን ንወጥሪ ኢትዮጵያን ኤርትራን ዘመልከተ ሳልሳይ ሓበረታን ሙዚቃን ወናለውና ስጋብ ፍጻሜ መደባትና ክትከታተሉ ዕድሜናዩ ሰናይ ጻንሖት
ينافقك عاد ينافقك عاد
ካብዚ ካብ ዋሽንግተን ዲሲ ሬድዮ ድምጽ ኤርትራ ዝመሓላለፍ ዘሎ መደባትኩም ተከታተሉ ዘለኹም ክቡራት ሰማዕትና በመቀጠል ዜና ካብ ከተማ ኣስመራ ነው
ሸሞንተ መጋቢት አህጉራዊ መዓልቲ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ኣገዞ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ንልምዓት ብዝብል ቴማ ኣብ ዝተፈላለዩ ከተማታት ሕቡራት መንግስታት ኣሜሪካ፣ ኢጣልያ፣ ካናዳ፣ ኣውስትራልያ፣ ጀርመን፣ ሽወደን፣ ደቡብ ሱዳን፣ ዱባይ፣ ኬንያ፣ ስዊዘርላንድ፣ ዓባይ ብሪጣንያ፣ ቤልጅየም፣ ፈረንሳን፣ እስራኤልን ብክብ ዝበለ ስነ ስርዓት ተጸንቢላ ኣብ ኮሎምበስን ቺካጎን ሕቡራት መንግስታት ኣሜሪካ ብዝተኻየደ ብተሳትፎ መንእሰያት ሕድርን መንእሰያት ህዝባዊ ግንባር ንዲሞክራሲን ፍትሕን ዝማዕረገን ብባህላዊ መሰናዶታት ዝደመቐን በዓል ክካየድን ከሎ ኣብ ካናዳ ከተማታት ኦታዋ፣ ቶሮንቶ፣ ካልጋሪ፣ ኤድመንተንን ዊኒፔግን ኣብ ዝተወደበ ተመሳሳሊ ጽምብል ድማ ፕሮጀክት መሰልጠኒ ማእከል ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ዓዲ ኋላ ንምዝዛም ንተሳትፎ ኩሉ ዜጋ ክዓዝዝ መተሓሳሰቢ ቀሪቡ እዚ ከምዚ ኢልን ከሎ ኣብ ኣውስትራልያ ኣብ ከተማታት ሜልበርን ብሪዝበንን ኣብ ናይሮቢ ኬንያን ጁባ ደቡብ ሱዳንን ውን እቲ ዓለት ብዝተፈላለየ መሰናዶታት ብክብ ዝበለ ኣገባብ ከም ዝተጸንበለት ካብቲ ቦታ ዝበፅሓና ሓበሬታ ኣፍሊጡ ካብ ኤምባሲ ኤርትራ ኣብ ጀርመንን ብመሰረት ዝበፅሓና ሓበሬታ ኣብ ከተማታት በርሊን፣ ፍራንክፈርት፣ ፉልዳ፣ ቮፖርታል፣ ከለን፣ ካርልስሩህ፣ ዱዘልዶርፍ፣ ሃናው፣ ኡልም፣ ካስል፣ ሽቱትጋርት፣ ሃምቡርግ፣ ቤልፊልድ፣ ኑረምበርግ፣ ማንሃይም፣ ካይዘርስላውተርን፣ ድራይ ኣሽን፣ ዳርምሽታትን ኣብ ዝተኻየደ ጽምብል ቃል ሃገራዊ ማሕበር ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ኤርትራ ክቐርብን ከሎ እቲ ኣጋጣሚ ማእከል ስሕበት መንእሰያት ኮይኑ ውዒሉ ኣብ ኢጣልያ ድማ ኣህጉራዊ መዓልቲ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ኣብ 14 ከተማታት ማለት ሮማ፣ እብሩዞ፣ ባሪ፣ ቦሎኛ፣ ካታንያ፣ ፍሬንዜ፣ ጆኖቫ፣ ሚላኖ፣ ናፖሊ፣ ፓሌርሞ፣ ፓርማ፣ ፓዶቫ፣ ፒዛን፣ ቬሮናን ብትሽዓተ መጋቢት ብዓቢ ድምቀት ተጸንቢላ ብተወሳኺ ኣብ ሽወደን ከተማታት ስቶክሆልም፣ ዮቶበሪ፣ ሮብሩ፣ ዮንሾልፒንግ፣ ስኪልስቱና፣ ሄርኖስሃንድ፣ ስካራ፣ ኡሚዮ፣ ሸልፍትዮ፣ ስቱርሹን፣ ሰንደስቫል፣ ሁንዱክስቫ፣ ያብለ፣ ኦቪክ፣ ሉልዮ፣ ፍሌን ካተርኖልም፣ ሉንድ፣ ሄንስቦሪ፣ ሄንስሆልም፣ ስሞላን፣ ቨርሎፔ፣ ኒሾፒንግን ቬስትሮስን ሸሞንተ መጋቢት ኣገዞ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ልምዓት ብዝብል ቴማ ብባህላውን ስነ ጥበባውን መሰናዶታት ደሚቓ ኣብቲ ኣጋጣሚ ገዲም ኣባል ሃገራዊ ማሕበር ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ኤርትራ ወይዘሮ ሪሻን ኣረጋይ ብምኽንያት ዝኽሪ መበል 50 ቃል ኪዳኖም ብስማን ብስም በዓል ቤታ ፕሮፌሰር እምባይ ኣስመሮምን ንፕሮጀክታት ሃገራዊ ማሕበር ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ኤርትራ ዝውዕል 50,000 ክሮነር ወፍያ ኤርትራውያን ነበርቲ ስዊዘርላንድ ቦገኖም ኣስታት 950 ደቂ ኣንስትዮን ካልኦት ዕድማትን ናብ ዝተረኽብሉ ኣብ ከተማ ሞንትሮ ብድምቀት ጸንቢሎምዋ ኣብቲ ኣጋጣሚ ንንጹፍ ተሳትፎን ኣበርክቶን ኤርትራዊት ጓል ኣንስተይቲ ኣብ ልምዓት ሃገር ዝገልጽ መሰናዶታት ቀሪቡ ነይሩ ብኻልእ ወገን ድማ ኤርትራውያን ነበርቲ ዓባይ ብሪጣንያ ካብ ከተማታት ለንደን፣ በርሚንግሃም፣ ሺፊልድ፣ ኮቨንትሪ፣ ኖቲንግሃም፣ ኒውካስል፣ ሊድስ፣ ሌስተር፣ ግላስጎ፣ ሚድልስብሮ፣ ሊቨርፑል፣ ብራይተን፣ ሳውዝሃምፕተን፣ ማንቸስተር፣ ብሪስቶልን፣ ካርዲፍን ብምትኻብ ንሸሞንተ መጋቢት ንቅያን ጅግነትን ኤርትራውያን ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ብዝገልጽ መደባት ኣኽቢሮማ ኣብ ቤልጅየም ከተማታት ብራስልስን ኣንትወርፐን ኣህጉራዊ መዓልቲ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ብክል ዝበለ ድምቀት ክትጽበልን ከላ ኤርትራውያን ነበርቲ ፈረንሳ ዱባይን ሰሜን ኢማራትን ከምኡውን እስራኤል ነቲ ዕለት ብዝበቅዕ መሰናድኦታት ዘኪሮማ
ኣብ ብርክት ዝበላ ንኡዞባታት ጋሽ ባርካ ዝተረኣየ ኣንበጣ ገረብ ኣብ ልዕሊ ዘራእትን ኣግራብን ዝጥቀስ ጉድኣት ከየውረደ ብሓያል ተሳትፎን ስጡም ምውሃድን ክኢላታት ሕርሻ ህዝብን ሓይልታት ምክልኻልን ኣብ ትሕቲ ቁፅፅር ይኣቱ ከም ዘሎ ሚኒስትሪ ሕርሻ ሓቢሩ እቲ ካብ ሱዳን ዝተበገሰ ኣንበጣ ገረብ ኣብ ንኡዞባታት ከርከበት ፎርቶሳዋ ድገን ተሰነይን ልዑል ዝርግሐ ከም ዝነበሮ ኣብ ጨንፈር ሕርሻ ዞባ ጋሽ ባርካ ኣዋሃዲ ወፍሪ ምክልኻል ኣንበጣ ኣቶ ተስፋ ዝጊሙ ዘሎ ኣፍሊጡ እቲ ዕስለ ዝበዝሕ ብለይቲ ስለ ዝንቀሳቐስ እኹል ኮለላታት ብምክያድ ዕቱብ ናይ ምቁፃር ንጥፈታት ከም ተኻየደ ኣቶ ተስፋ ዝጊ ብተወሳኺ ኣብሪሁ ብዝተኻየደ ውሁድ ወፍሪ ህዝቢ ሰራዊትን ክኢላታት ሕርሻን ዛጊት ኣብ ንኡዞባታት ከርከበት ኣብ 132 ሄክታር ኣብ ንኡዞባ ፎርቶሳዋ ኣብ 386 ሄክታር ኣብ ንኡዞባ ተሰነይ ድማ ኣብ 32 ሄክታር ብጠቕላላ ኣብ 550 ሄክታር ተዘርጊሑ ዝነበረ ኣንበጣ ገረብ ኣብ ትሕቲ ቁፅፅር ከም ዝኣተወ እቲ ስራሕ ድማ ገና ይቕፅል ከም ዘለውን ኣፍሊጡ ኣንበጣ ገረብ ኣብ ዓበይቲ ኣግራብ ጎቦታትን ሽንጭሮታትን ስለ ዝሰፍር ንምቁፃሩ ሓያል ጉልበታዊ ስራሕ ከም ዝጠልብ ዝሓበረ ኣቶ ተስፋ ዝጊ ኪኖቲ ብክኢላታት ዝካየድ ኮለላታት ሓረስቶት ተርእዮ ኣንበጣ ምስ ዝዕዘቡ ብቕፅበት ኣብ ጥቕኦም ናብ ዝርከብ ቤት ፅሕፈት ሕርሻ ወይ ምምሕዳር ክሕብሩ ተላብዩ ኣብ ዝሓለፈ ዓመት ኣብ 14 ንኡዞባታት ተዘርጊሑ ዝነበረ ኩብኩብታ ገና ቅድሚ ምንፋሩ ዕውት ናይ ምቁፃር ንጥፈታት ከም ተኻየደሉ ዝዝከር እዩ
ማሕበር ሕርሻው ንግዲ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ኤርትራ ብ12 መጋቢት ኣብ ኣስመራ ሻርሻይ ጉባኤ ኣቃኒዑ ኣዶ እምበር ማሕበር ወይዘሮ ኣብረት ኣብ ተገርጊሽ ኣብ ዘስምዖቶ መኽፈቲ ቃል ኣካየዲት ኮሚቴ ኣብ ናይ 2 ዓመት ዕድሚያ ናይ 3 ዓመት ስትራቴጂካዊ ውጥን ከም ዘዳለወትን ኣብ ወርሒ ለካቲት 2025 ሃገራዊ ዋዕላ ከም ዝወደበትን ሓቢራ ጸሓፊት ማሕበር ወይዘሮ ለተኺዳን ካሕሳይ ኣብ ዘቕረበቶ ጸብጻብ ኣባላት በብሞየን ተጠርኒፈን ብጉጅለ ከም ዝሰርሓ ከም ተገብረ በብወርሑ ዝውደብ ምርኢት ባዛር ድማ ዝምስገን ውፅኢት ከም ተረኽቦ ኣረዲኣ ብዘይካዚ ብውሽጣዊ ዓቕሚ ማሕበርን ብምትሕባር ሚኒስትሪ ሕርሻን ሃኮስን ኣብ መሬትን ፍርያምነትን ባህርያውን ሰብ ሰርሖ ድኹዕን ኣጠቓቕሞን ዕዳጋን ዓማዊልን ምሕደራ ፋይናንስን ልቓሕን መግብን ኣታሕዙን ከምኡውን ኣብ ምዕሸግን ሕላገትን ዘተኮረ ስልጠናታት ከም ተኻይደ ብምጥቃስ ሳላዚ ስልጠናታት እዚ ዝግበር ምትብባዕን ሓያል ፃዕሪ ኣባላትን ኣብ ወስኽ ክብሪ ውሑስ ምዕሸግን ሕላገትን ዓብዪ ስራሕ ከም ተዓመ ኣብሪሃም ሚኒስትሪ ሕርሻ ኣቶ ኣረፋይ ነበርህ ድማ ማሕበር ሕርሻው ንግዲ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ኤርትራ ንጥፈታቱን ፍርያቱን ካብ ግዜ ናብ ግዜ እናዓበየ ይመጽእ እኳ እንተሎ ካብዚ ዘለዎ ማዕቢሉ ተወዳዳሪ ንክኸውን ብዙሕ ስራሕ ከም ዝተርፎ ኣብሪሁ ተሳተፍቲ ብወገኖ ማሕበር ምስ ሃማደ ጥቡቕ ርክብ ክህልዎ ዝርግሐ ማሕበር ናብ ኩለን ዞባታት ክሰፍሕ መንስያ ደቂ ኣንስትዮና ማሕበር ንምጥርናፍ ክስራሕ ሕቶ ቦታ መሸጢ ፍርያትካ ኣቓልቦ ክግበረሉ ዝብል ሓሳባት ኣቕሪቦም ኣብ መወዳእታ ጉባኤኛታት ኣብ ጸብጻብን ንድፊ ቋምን ማሕበር ብዕምቆ ድሕሪ ምዝታይ ንዝመጽእ 2 ዓመታት እተገልግለን ኣካየዲት ኣካል መሪፀን ኣብ 2003 ዝተመስረተ ማሕበር ሕርሻው ንግዲ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ኤርትራ ኣብ ሃገራዊ ውጥን ውሕስነት መኣዛዊ መግቢ ኣበርክቶ ንምግባርን መነባብሮ ኣብ ሕርሻው ንግዲ ዝነጥፋ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ንምምሕያሽን ኣብ ትሕቲ ጽላል ሚኒስትሪ ሕርሻ ይነጥፍ
ማዕዛዊ መግቢ ንኹሉ ኣብ ኩሉ ብዝብል ስትራቴጂ ሚኒስትሪ ሕርሻ ንምዕዋት ኣብ ንኡስ ውህድ ስድራ ቤታዊ ሕርሻ ንኣሽቱን ማእከላትን ንግዳዊ ሕርሻታት ከምኡውን መደብ ንኡስ ርቡሕ ቃጽዕ ሕርሻ ዘተኮሩ መደባት ንምትግባር ኣብ 13 ንኡስ ዞባታት ጋሽ ባርካ ዓውድታት ዘተተኻይዶም ኣብቶም ኣብ ውህድ ተሳትፎ መንስያትን ደቂ ኣንስትዮን ኣተኪሮም ካብ መፋርቕ ወርሒ ለካቲት ዝተኻይዱ ዓውድታት ዘተም ካብ 2024 ክሳብ 2028 ዝዝርጋሕ ስትራቴጂካዊ ውጥን ንምዕዋት ኣቐዲሙ ብተናጸል ክካየድ ዝጸንሐ ሕርሻዊ ልምዓት ብዝተወደበ መልክዕ ንምክያዱ ዝሕግዝ ስሉሳዊ ውህደት ሃማደ ሃማመተን ሚኒስትሪ ሕርሻን ዝድንፈዓሉ መምርሒ ተዋሂቡን ብዕምቆት ተዘትዩን ኣብ ጨንፈር ሚኒስትሪ ሕርሻ ሓላፊ ኣሃዱ ውጥንን ስታቲስቲክስን ኣቶ ተስፋይ ነጋሽ ነሪና ኣብ ዝሃቦ ሓበሬታ እቲ ዕላማ መረዳእታ ሕብረተሰብ ብሓፈሻ ናይ መንስያትን ደቂ ኣንስትዮን ድማ ብፍላይ ብምብራኽ መንስያትን ደቂ ኣንስትዮን ኣብ ምርግጋጽ መኣዛዊ መግቢ ንኹሉ ኣብ ኩሉ ቀላስ ተራ ዝፃወትሉ ባይታ ንምፍጣር ምዃኑ ገሊፆም ኣማሓደርቲ ናይተን ንኡስ ዞባታት ብወገኖም መደባት ውህድ ተሳትፎ መንስያትን ደቂ ኣንስትዮን ኣብ ሕርሻዊ ልምዓት ንምዕዋት ኣማሓደርቲ ከባብን ሙያውያን ሕርሻን ቀላስ ተራ ክፃወቱ ከም ዝግባእ ኣስሚሮም ተሳተፍቲ ድማ እቲ መደብ ክኽተልዎ ዝፀንሑ ኣገባባት ማሕረስ ብስነ ፍልጠታውን ኣርባሕን ኣገባብ ዘማዕብልሉ ባይታ ዘጣጥሕ ብምዃኑ ዕቱብ ምክትታል ክግበረሉ ብምዝኽኻር ሕርሻዊ ልምዓት ንምድንፋዕ ዝሕግዝ ቀረባት ብኣግኡ ክሕሰበሉ ኣዘኻኺሮም
ኣይ በዓል ወርቂ ጋሽራራዬ በኽሪ ዕምበባ ኢትራ ግራር ሰማይ ኣሞራ ኣልሓፍላቶም ናንበሳ ዛልመን ዓደይ ብለሳ ብለሳ
ክብራት ተኸታተልቲ ሬድዮ ድምፂ ኤርትራ ሰላምተና እናቕረብና ኣስዒብና ከዓ ቃለ ምዕተት ምስ ኣህጉራዊ ጋዜጠኛ ቶማስ ማውንቴን ነቕርበልኩም Thomas, I thank you for your time and contribution from time to Voice of Eritrea. We hear from people who travel to Ethiopia and Eritrea that there are constant big military build-up by Ethiopia with a mind to invade Eritrea and control port of Asab. Likewise, Eritrean defense forces have mobilized their troops and taking defensive positions on Asab front and all along the border lines. Can you give us your insight about whether there will be a war between Eritrea and Ethiopia in 2025?
You know, there's rumors about mobilization by the Ethiopian army, but there hasn't been any confirmation of that in terms of real hard intelligence. I mean, the Ethiopian army is getting battered on all sides by the Amhara Fano army, and now even the Oromos and other ethnic groups have joined up with Amhara, and they're pressuring Abiy pretty fiercely. I mean, Abiy's down to the point where you could probably just call him the mayor of Addis Ababa, maybe even 4 kilo, you know. I mean, it's no man's land in the rest of Ethiopia. So his army has been, I mean, there's a lot of small battles where he's losing just a steady bleeding wound that's draining his strength of his military. And, you know, so it's like he's got a lot of high rate of desertions. He's got a lot of soldiers that are just going over to Fano on the other sides. And he's taking a lot of casualties on a lot of little battles every day. So in terms of the Ethiopian army, it's not in good shape. On top of that, now, you know, the U.S. AID has been shut down, and Abiy got $1.4 billion last year from U.S. AID. And that's how he's paying for his military. Without that money, how long is the military going to last? So, I mean, I don't think there's fuel shortages, there's food shortages, there's a lot of problems in Ethiopia, internal, and I think Abiy's trying to bluster and bluff and try to make everybody panic and say, oh, we're going to have war, you got to support Ethiopia, you know, all these things instead of just to try to, you know, they say patriotism is the last resort of scoundrels. So that's where Abiy's at right now, and I really don't think there's going to be a war. You know, he's said this before. People have talked about this before, but the Eritrean army is really well armed and tough, and they're modernizing. They've got drones now. They're training people in drone operations for months now. So they're as battlefield ready. Eritrea is probably the toughest lot in the East Africa, and Ethiopia is nowhere near that. So I think if Ethiopia even tries anything around Assab, they're going to get a quick bloody nose, and I just don't see Abiy really doing it. I think it's bluster and bluff.
Okay. In case there is, you know, war breaks out between Ethiopia and Eritrea, as you know, Eritrea have been fighting mostly depending on its army and its people inside Eritrea and abroad. It had no allies, no aid from other international governments. This time around, Eritrea have a lot of friends. Who are the possible, you know, allies in Eritrea in case war breaks out with Ethiopia?
Well, they have one unlikely and unwilling ally in the form of the Azerbaijan naval ships that were intercepted, loaded up with drones and other armaments, now that in the hands of the Eritrean Defense Forces. They were trying to sneak through Eritrean waters, for some reason got caught. And now Eritrea's got all this state-of-the-art, basically Turkish drones and other high-tech weaponry that was supposed to go to Ethiopia. So Eritrea is getting in the tradition of the EPLF, is getting their weapons from their enemies, not from their friends. So, I think that's continuing that tradition now. So, that was back in November. So they've had 4 months now to integrate these weaponry into their armed forces. And so I think, with these modern drones, and they can see what's coming, and they can prepare traps, and all the things that they did without drones, they're going to be able to do much more efficiently. So if war does break out, the Eritrean forces are really, like I say, they're well armed, they're well led, they're tough. They're just a few years ago, they were in pitched battles with the TPLF in end of 2020 and 2021. So, the war side is not sleeping. War side is tough. They're well armed. They're well trained. They're battle hardened, and their morale is great. And I don't see any real threat from Ethiopia, even if they do dare attack.
And recently, we've heard that Saudi Arabia is trying to rebuild the port of Asab. How do you see this in this equation about the conflict between the two countries?
I saw a report about that, but I haven't seen anything anywhere. Nobody else has said anything about that report. So I've in the past, I have to be a little skeptical about some of these reports until there's more confirmation coming through in terms of, it's likely that Saudi Arabia is working closely with the Eritrean government. I think they're clear that there's a Red Sea alliance. They're participating in security maneuvers in the Red Sea with their naval forces, and they're coordinating anti-terror activities. And Saudi has stepped away from the United States hegemony more. And, they're more playing a leading role in the Horn of Africa, in the Red Sea, and because they are the power in the area. So I think the Saudis, if they're smart, they are going to look to close in ties with Eritrea, and that's been going on. But just to what extent, I don't know if the Eritreans going to let the Saudis come into Asab. Eritrea is very sensitive about foreign powers coming in and getting in a position where they can get control of key infrastructure. So, I'll have to wait and see on that one.
So what can we predict about the relation between the current American administration and Eritrea, given the relations of both countries that have been tense for years and mostly against Eritrea?
Well, there's been like an earthquake in Washington, D.C. I mean, Trump came in. He shut down USAID. All these Adgina Hamadou and all these other so-called opposition groups all are lost their funding now. So, it turns out even Al-Shabaab is being funded by the USAID and other American sources. Al-Shabaab, Eritrea got sanctioned for supporting Al-Shabaab when it was actually the CIA and the USAID, which had been funding Al-Shabaab all these years, since 2007, 2008. So, that's shut down now. So, it's sort of like I say, there's been an earthquake, and with Trump, he blows this way today and blows that way tomorrow. But right now, the good things he's doing is shutting down the enemies of Eritrea. And all this foreign national endowment for democracy, they're getting major slashes. They're been a big headache, they've been slandering Eritrea for years, just like, and even Amnesty and these other organizations, these so-called NGOs, they're all getting funded by USAID. So I think a lot of the people that were causing Eritrea a lot of headaches are going to see their salaries disappear. So I think it's going to be a favorable situation. Eritrea is getting more, you notice that their Ministry of Information is being more proactive and announcing things, what's going on. So I think things are looking up for Eritrea in terms of breaking out of the isolation they suffered.
Thank you so much. Anything you want to say at the end? Also, would Egypt support Eritrea in case of there is conflict with Ethiopia, that it has historical conflict with Ethiopia?
Well, Egypt, is still in a state of tension with Ethiopia because of this Grand Renaissance Dam, which, they have so much water in Ethiopia, they didn't have to build that great big dam. They could build a lot of smaller dams for a lot less money and not create this tension. So, this is sort of Ethiopia's picked up a rock to drop it on their own feet. They got an enemy in Egypt, and Egypt is linking up with Eritrea and Somalia to try to contain Ethiopia. So I think the situation for, Egypt is that Egypt's was reported they've got 10,000 troops in Sinai on the border with Gaza. And, it's like Egypt is why are they putting all their soldiers there, right? Where, they're within striking distance of the Israeli military. And of course, within Egypt itself, there's a lot of economic contradictions. The price of fuel and the subsidies the government has had in the past have now been cut because of the deal they had to make with the IMF. So, the pressure is building in Egypt. I think there's going to have another Arab Spring explosion against Al-Sisi. I don't know when, but, it's iron fist just can control only so long. So, Egypt is sort of walking a fine line, but on the other hand, they've been playing a more progressive role in trying to contain this insanity of this Abiy Ahmed gangster regime.
Okay, Thomas, anything you want to say at the end?
Well, happy International Women's Day, the Eritrean people. I posted up something I said, there's an old Chinese proverb that says, women hold up half the sky. But when I was in Eritrea, it seemed like women held up more than half the sky. So I say goodbye with you with that.
Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate it again.
Okay, take care, ciao.
Bye.
አይ በዓል ወርቅ ጋሽ ሽራራዬ በኽሪ ዕምበባ ኢትራ ብራር ሰማይ ኣሞራ ኣልሓፍላቶም ናንበሳ ዛልመን ዓለይ ብለሳ ኣይ በዓል ወርቅ ጋሽ ሽራራዬ በኽሪ ዕምበባ ኢትራ ብራር ሰማይ ኣሞራ ኣልሓፍላቶም ናንበሳ ዛልመን ዓለይ ብለሳ دكتور وارد عالم موعد قبض عيس عري أرحقنا بعزنا العالم ورد قبلنا حزبنا ورخلني قميدا أدي خقول الوليدا ورخلني قميدا حواي برنكا كمان عالم عبري خماك جدر صونعت عرلي هانيتكا